long time, and it's just like the grogginess is still kicking my butt. But other than
Where are
that,
you?
I'm in Bristol, so I'm like not far from you guys at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I assume you guys are still like it's got to be rainy and crappy over there, right?
Yeah, today and yesterday it was. The thing that's bothering me the most is Alexa keeps reminding me that there's water quality issues and my nose is constantly running because of it.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, it's just like huge pollen or something. It's just like
Yeah.
constant allergies.
Do you have so it's funny because I just set up like a bunch of Alexas in my house. Do you have like an air purifier that alerts you of that, or is it just going off of the outside?
Yeah, Alexa's going off just what I guess the area is saying. So it's not because of my purifiers. I don't have any.
Okay.
Those are not smart appliances.
No,
No.
I don't have an opinion one way or another. I was just
No,
uh
it'd probably be good to say, hey, I'm working overtime. You're gonna probably have some bad
yeah.
issues today.
Take some allergy medicine ahead of time. So yeah, so I asked Francisco to join us today. He is my lead. He's going to give us a little bit of guidance on restructuring those business units. I know we had some questions in regards to that. Do we know? Oh, Matt's here. He did join. Hey, Matt.
Hey, I'm here. Yep.
Hey. Okay. Um, there he is. How are you? How are you, Martha?
Good.
Perfect. Okay. So Francisco, just to kind of fill you in, I've been working with Earol for about a year now. They just went through the Ignite and the Ember sessions, and they're looking to kind of reorganize their account. They feel like when they signed on, things were maybe a little bit disorganized, I guess I could say. And so as of right now, they have about 30 business units. And they're looking to restructure that, really narrow that down to business units that make more sense for what their current scope of work is. We have a list of about seven business units that they're considering. So the questions for today are really, how if we're restructuring and changing the business units, what does that affect as far as accounting, the price book, and are there any other areas that we, need to be aware of when doing this?
Appreciate you. Hey, team, it's a pleasure to meet y'all. Like you said, Francisco Martinez, here to help any way that I can. But yeah, definitely want to kind of start off with kind of covering some of the things that might be happening to Service Titan when you change business units, just so you guys know, and then we can get more of the business practicality of changing business units, and then see kind of ideally what we want to build from there, right? So one of the first, and I'll start sharing my screen. And again, please let me know when to slow down if I'm jumping the gun here. Uh, are you guys seeing your business units here?
It's still
Make sure
loaded.
I'm sharing the right screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Alrighty. So yeah, as we mentioned, business units again, so we're going to want to, if we condense these out of it doesn't, you almost still have 30, but you guys probably started with 30. Either way, that is still a lot of business units at a first glance. So if you guys are hoping to trim these up, full on approved. Uh, items to kind of look out for when changing this, kind of like Stormy mentioned, it is going to change your price book, right? You guys currently have your price book as far as your categories, only accessible to certain business units to specific categories. So when we condense these business units, we are going to have to revisit these categories to see who's going to be allowed to access these. So I don't know if you are you guys, I guess quick pulse check is how are you guys changing the business units? Like how are we
So,
condensing it? Are we condensing it by like trade, by type of work?
well, let's pretend like we're starting from the beginning, because first off, we don't know exactly what the true definition or best business practice would be for business unit. I also want
Perfect.
to state that even though there's a bunch in there, we only have been using Gilbertsville for at least the last year, maybe even longer. So that's the only one that I would believe that the price book would even have everything just attributed to. So
It is, yeah. That's the only one that we're using at all. That we, and I think from the beginning we maybe tried to build some other stuff, but I don't know that anything in Pricebook is linked to anything besides Gilbertsville.
Okay. So with that then, back to where you mentioned kind of the beginning there is business units. I can't necessarily tell you that clients utilize this in a templatized approach. One company might use business units in a certain way by geographic locations. So like we have zones inside Service Titan. People might still utilize business unit as zones. They might do it by trade. They might do it by service division, like type of services, install, service, maintenance, and so forth. It's more of how you want to structure that hierarchy. Because ideally in Service Titan, we start off with your business units. That is the top level. So it's your company in a sense, your overall company, and then it's your business units. From business units, we can break it down to divisions. Divisions are insightful within Service Titan. They're not really insightful for outside of Service Titan to your accounting. It might be the equivalent of like a QuickBooks class in a sense, if we were to do divisions within Service
That's
Titan.
what business units are. They transfer into classes in QuickBooks.
Yes, and then so when we transfer to QuickBooks, you get the business unit, but you can still say plumbing service, plumbing install, plumbing maintenance. You can still classify those all as plumbing in accounting or in your QuickBooks. So
If those are business units in Service Titan, then they would go into classes in QuickBooks. But if they're divisions in Service Titan, does that go into QuickBooks?
no, and that's why I was like, that's only insightful for there. That's probably the closest comparison that I can get of what that would look like outside of Service Titan would be in the sense of class. But not a lot of people utilize divisions. To be quite honest, some people do like set it up. The idea is that okay, I'm gonna be reporting my divisions, and it never gets reported on divisions. Because divisions, it's only within Service Titan. It might be beneficial for some people, but it's not beneficial for your overall view of your company performance. So again, ideally what I can say is going to be your overall company, business units, divisions to a point, and then your job types. And that's going to be the hierarchy of how things get routed within Service Titan.
Francisco, where does trade? When we sort of unearthed this by in a Ember session, coming across business unit mapping, and one of the category in that table is trade. How does that play in play in here?
So trade in a sense can I'm trying to make sure I don't belittle what trades are. Um what is it under?
So we found it under the dashboard and then business units, business unit mapping.
Okay.
So that was the shortcut we found, and then
Yeah.
this is where we had 30 maybe somewhere in
Yeah,
here.
so this is going to be in relation to division. That's why I was trying to make sure I check myself first and then just say like this is tucked under division. It's just to help you kind of separate those divisions as well. Again, if you want to do counter sales, but you want to do counter sales for both your HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and so forth, it just gives you more separation within Service Titan specifically. More in a sense only on business unit performance reporting.
Okay.
Oh,
So would it go like business unit, division, trade, job type?
yes, you can. But the trade and division, again, they're kind of going to be at the same level of the hierarchy. So if
Oh,
division
okay.
might be your primary actual reporting aspect over the trade. The trade can be an additional column to the reporting,
Okay.
but I don't know if you guys absolutely need that type of insight. Again, if it's beneficial, we can go that way.
Okay, so
But
maybe
truly,
it's sorry, go ahead.
oh, no, I was just going to say, but a lot of times, clients that I have had utilize this business unit mapping to divisions and trades, they usually stop at the division itself because they'll just call it what they want to see it as. And then
Okay.
the trade is just, is it plumbing, is it HVAC, and so forth. But most of the time, division or BU gives you that outline.
Okay. So from this standpoint, and maybe this is helpful if I just kind of outline where we were thinking and what we were thinking. We are obviously we're a plumbing and water treatment company, and we're primarily water treatment. But we do a little bit of both. At one point we were 50-50. Who knows where we'll be in the future. Right now, our thought was those would sort of be the two business units, a water treatment business unit and a plumbing business unit, and that would give us the ability to track it. Does it make more sense to have a sales business unit, a service business unit, and an install division, and then each of those has which way would you recommend? Would you recommend starting separating plumbing and water treatment as the two business units, or is it better to have a sales business unit and within that there's a plumbing sales and a treatment sales, and then
Yeah.
within a which from a practical standpoint makes more sense to you?
To me, I've always been on the side of less is more. So the less that you can have, the better. It's just easier to create functionality and workflows often when you're limited to certain types. But the challenge to that, though, as much as again, that's my personal opinion, but truly, it's how you want to separate these numbers when you look at them. Do you want to be able to separate? Hey, okay, plumbing did 500K for the first 6 months. Are you fine just seeing that? Or do you want to know what came from sales, what came from install specifically, and so on?
So yes, I think we would like to see on a high level a separation between plumbing and water treatment, and then within each of those two, we're hoping to see to be able to track installation versus service. And then I don't know if sales needs to be tracked in there. We had sort of kicked around the idea of sales, service, and installation. That was, I think, some of that came from suggestions in Ignite sessions and some framework that they had suggested from there.
Yeah, because we usually recommend the service, maintenance, install, and sales. Sales is so you can specifically know what your sales staff is doing, what they're selling, what they're performing for one-off services while on site, anything like that of where the opportunity was originally discovered. That's the sales BU through and through is how did we discover opportunities? Service, that's your standard day to day. John Smith calls in, asks if you guys can come out. Ideally, that's just going to get perceived as your standard service and so forth. Install, because again, service tight end likes to put the perspective of it's a sales team's job to be able to get in the interest and get a customer to commit to doing work. That is sales lifeline. Serve or install department is now responsible to making sure that $5,000 job that we sold actually gets installed. We collect for it and we minimize or we maximize our gross profit, right? So we're not falling through roofs, we're not damaging sprinkler lines, we're not doing any of that. So we're making sure that our gross profit is profitable. And that's why we like to separate the sales team from the install team in a business unit perspective. Because now, again, you can truly, and again, that's not everyone follows that practice. A lot of people like to say sales and install are going to be the same thing. If sales does it and they lose, if install loses, then sales loses. Some companies like to separate it because they give commission for sales and they give whatever type of recognition for their install team to make sure they do their job well from what was outlined from the sales team.
So I think that makes the most sense for us. So I noticed you mentioned maintenance. We don't use that. So we use service, although I'm assuming maintenance is maintaining equipment we have installed, which is really what we do most of. And I actually like the idea, and you guys, John and Marissa, can weigh in on this, of service, which kind of indicates almost like a new sales opportunity in its own way, as opposed to maintenance, which is less so of that, more routine, regular maintenance. Am I understanding that kind of correctly? You guys, what do you think?
I get what you're saying. I think that's going to cause confusion with the CSRs, um, unless we make it very black and white. Because there, like we said before, there's a lot that's not black and white. I think, yeah.
Can
What are
I
you gaining from having that?
It lets me see what kind of revenue, and so I would have expectations on service that there would be a certain amount of sales that would come out of that would be higher than what would be on maintenance. And as a selling tech who's running service, you would be different from a maintenance tech who's going out and changing bulbs and doing things like that. So that was sort of where I thought there's a
Okay.
slight difference in maintaining equipment we've installed, and what that again, and then it sort of also helps us see very clearly how much revenue are we generating from the equipment we install additionally versus how much is new service coming in, basically marketed service, whether that's from existing or new customers. So from a marketing standpoint, I was trying to think about it from that standpoint a little bit.
Could we just use job types for that instead of making that a business unit?
Does that give us that same accounting ability?
Not in your accounting software, no. Right? Because I think QuickBooks is going to outline by business unit. So if you're
Yeah.
wanting to look at business unit, you're not going to see that from there. You'll see it in service title, but you won't see it in your accounting software. So depending on where you pull your ultimate numbers from to reconcile or review, that could be a playing in factor.
John,
But
what are
I
your
do,
thoughts?
I'm a little confused. So you think that you want to be able to keep track of, hey, I'm a new customer and um, I have equipment in my home. You guys did not install it, and we want to be able to track that and see as if how that grows,
No,
as
you can
well
still
as
be an existing customer. An existing customer calls, we installed a piece of equipment and now you need service on your toilet. You need
so that
service
way
on
it's a service call.
a service, and then as opposed to, hey, I have this piece of equipment that you installed, I need it maintained. It needs its
Okay.
regular maintenance, as opposed to service is an issue. Maintenance is, from a scheduling standpoint, it goes back to urgency and the differentiation from that standpoint. That's why, again, I'm only thinking about this because Francisco, you said like this is how most people do it, and every step along the way where we've been like, no, we're a special unicorn and we don't do it this way, we've ended up regretting making that decision, and we're learning like, we're not that special. We should probably be, again, in the best way, in that
yeah,
we should be trying to align ourselves in where we can. And to Marissa, I hear what you're saying. Like, I don't want to have like all those, is this service, is this maintenance, is this what? So I want to have a clear definition. I'm still
Yeah.
not clear on whether we would make those four things business units or plumbing and water treatment business units. So I kind of want to go back and solve that first and then think about it.
yeah.
So,
I will,
Francisco,
go ahead.
sorry. One thing that we had talked about, and this is what I see pretty common, is um, that's what I was kind of mentioning. Like the business units for plumbing sales, plumbing service, plumbing install. Would you like recommend that, or having just one plumbing business unit for the three divisions? I think that's kind of what you were getting at, Matt. Is that correct?
Correct.
Ultimately, again, forgive me. I felt like they Stormy graded you as Martha, but uh, your mention has Marissa. Uh, Marissa or Martha is the best way to address you.
Marissa.
Marissa. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Maybe I misheard.
That's
But
okay. I've
I
gotten that before.
okay. So I heard it sounds like you're more on the accounting side of these items and so forth. So not
Yeah.
kind of looking for your input here. And again, Matt and John, you guys might have the same input, but just again, you're talking about the accounting that sense there
I'm
is
zero accounting.
okay. In that sense, is when we come to reconcile, when we come look at over a year performance, when we look at these numbers and we try to make the decision, are we being profitable? Do we want that extra step of an insight into the plumbing to know by, in a sense, division, in a sense, even though I'm using that in a different context here? Or are we fine just knowing that plumbing is being profitable?
I I'm thinking if this was all in QuickBooks, it is really going to bog down my P&L. Like my P&L is going to like really grow because I'm going to, if these are all business units, if we have plumbing sales, plumbing service, plumbing install, water treatment service, water treatment install, water treatment sales, it's going to just like, so that to me is, I like having the ability to view it in Service Titan. I don't need that in QuickBooks. I don't think. I don't think that's as valuable in QuickBooks as long as we have the high level, it's making profit. If I really want to dig into things, I'm I'm fine with using Service Titan for that. Just my opinion, and we can do it because if you know QuickBooks and a P&L, I just click a little button and it shrinks everything. So I can just, get it out of my view. But it sounds like it would make more sense to have like plumbing business unit, water treatment business unit, and then have your divisions be, as long as we can pull reports on divisions, then have your divisions be those different things. But then where do the job types come into play at
No,
that point?
and that would be the issue with the divisions. Is that divisions I can
It's like the
apply
same thing as
multiple
the job type.
BUs, multiple BUs to a division, but I can only apply one division to a BU. So I wouldn't be able to get plumbing as a BU and then get to know what service, maintenance, sales, and so forth by division.
Wait,
I
say
can
that one
only
more time. One division per business unit?
I I can assign multiple BUs to a division,
Oh,
but
well,
I
that
can
sounds backwards.
it is backwards from the way you stated it.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to clarify.
Okay.
So I
If
can have business unit plumbing, business, oh my gosh, plumbing service, plumbing install, and so forth, 4 BUs assigned to one division named plumbing.
Ah, so, okay.
what
So it is
what
the
about
opposite.
um with using job types as that way to separate them? So if we have a water treatment business unit, and then we have a plumbing business unit, and then we have job types, which is service, because you can have the job type be associated with either, right? So you can have a service, a water treatment service, and then a plumbing service. Is that correct?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that sounds like that would make it simpler.
the thing that I'll call out here is for practicality of reporting. I just want to be transparent, you know.
Yeah.
So
Please.
business unit performance, they're easy. Let me pull one up. I think it's just called your revenue report. Revenue going off business unit performance. If I do it on a business unit level of a breakdown, I just get to run this report, get to look at the business unit, get to know their total completed revenue, non-job revenue, adjustments. You'd be able to look at some cost items and so forth. Easy report to look at. Business unit kind of creates a structure. In a job level aspect, we are now going to general jobs. Let's go with, I'm just going to look at a random one for now. So job costing summary report, sure. So again, I can ideally filter for this, but I don't get that easy upfront to say all of it is here. Ideally, what you're now having to do, and again, it might be very small for you guys, so you guys are perfectly fine with it. But ideally, now that I'm running this report, you see, I get every job. So now what you guys would have to do is come in here and add that additional grouping item, so you guys can get to know, all right, how much did the delivery job type altogether produce? How much did DEP produce? How much did plumbing produce, and so forth. So it's a bit of change in the um in the reporting aspect, but if this isn't a deal breaker for you guys,
That's
then I think
consistent with how, so, and we, I should have told you, we have a couple other, what we were thinking would be business units, maybe they're not. But we also have DEP, which is another branch of our business that sort of operates on its own, and then testing and inspections, which is another one. And we have them all just in as job types. And we run a report. We do exactly what you did there. We filter by job type, or sort by job type, and I get a report that looks exactly like this. Plumbing referred out. It looks just like what you're looking at here. Um, our issue was, I think, when we were trying to market to specifically plumbing customers, we couldn't do that by job type. That was by business unit. If when we were trying to look at some of those other like back end functionalities, um, everything was sort of tied to business units and the ability to do it by business unit. And that's why that's what led us down this rabbit hole originally was, hey, we got to kind of get that sorted out so that we could just do one thing or have a price book item related to just one thing, not to a job type, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, then that does actually add something that I didn't think about here is the non-job revenue. So when you look at in a business unit, if you want to look at your overall revenue, like let's say you do a standalone invoice, there's multiple ways to do standalone invoices, whether it's like membership billing, progress billing on a standalone invoice on a project, different ways. You do lose that metric when you're going off job types because those are not assigned to a job because they're standalone invoices. So you're not going to be seeing that revenue in the job type reporting as well.
They show up
Um,
as null. Is that correct for us? I think if I run a weekly revenue report, that's the report that we would run as we called in there. And one of the classes that shows up in job type is null. And that
okay,
usually that's our counter sales.
yeah.
That shows
So
up
it
that way.
would be those, correct? Yes. So if you have a way to track those already in a report, sweet. You have a leg up on me because I've I've been out of touch on the reporting. I'm more of a manager role now, but I've always struggled on finding that number to actually populate on a report for me. So
Okay.
you got a leg up on me if you made that happen.
It is so do we just need one? Are we back to just having Noblesville?
Yeah. So if you have the reporting for the job and a reconciling process from your accounting side, you're fine. If it's better and you guys are fine seeing it with minimal,
Yeah,
I
but it
would
doesn't let me
say
do right. It doesn't let me break down from an accounting standpoint in QuickBooks. Marissa can't see plumbing versus water treatment revenue at all right now, right, Marissa?
I can see, let me pull up what I can see, because I don't even, because of our price book not being correct, I don't look at that. So I'll pull up our P&L now, but I don't think so.
And my other question is like if I assign inventory and labor and those sort of things, are they getting assigned to the business unit or the job type?
business unit.
Yeah,
Good call out. Yeah.
So you would want to have the separate business units at that point then, right?
I think so. And then we could just have job types within those business units. And I think that's the way to do it.
So right now I have for our revenue, I have a couple different categories. We have testing and inspections, wholesale equipment, material, service. That's how we changed it. It used to be because when we decided to do only water treatment, there was no need to have anything different. So that, oh, hold on.
So how does testing and inspections pull into there? Because that's in the same business unit.
Yeah, that shouldn't. So we changed everything and it should only be equipment, material, and service. That's what it was supposed to be. But somewhere along the lines, price book items must have gotten added or adjusted, and they were assigned the wrong general ledger account, which would be testing and inspections and wholesale equipment. There was only supposed to be three categories. So I was supposed to have three categories for revenue and then the same three categories for cost of goods sold. So you can see where they kind of, reflect. But again, the price book isn't right because I'm having more than that. And I'm having some come in as service, a level above all of this, which really means there's an issue. Again, I don't look at, I don't dig into that. The price book is a problem if you want accurate reporting on this end. But if I'm saying the price book is a problem on this end, it's likely a problem on your end too with reports.
Yeah, so I think once we have made a final decision and we've structured the business units and job types, division straight, then I think we can move on to, okay, how do we make the price book properly linked to those things? We had some questions yesterday, Francisco, about what happens on a cross-departmental job if, how does it track? If I have plumbing and water treatment separated and somebody goes out for a water treatment installation and sells a water heater that's under plumbing, how does that get categorized in QuickBooks if they're now two different business units? How does that work?
In QuickBooks, it's only going to take the parent business unit of the invoice. So I don't know if you guys are just by the way you're speaking on that.
No,
I
that's what
think
we were hoping actually, is that yeah, that would still be attributed. That's not going to now count as plumbing revenue. That's technically a water treatment revenue, even though it was a plumbing business, a plumbing price book item, that's still going to go to the parent job type. Is that correct?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Or the parent B when it goes to your accounting software.
Parent BU. Okay.
Yeah. A
And you
really
can't have
quick
multiple
pulse.
business units on one invoice. My,
You can have individual items assigned to it, like actually very quick pulse check just so I don't disturb. Stormy does have to hop for a call, but I'm gonna hang around if you guys still have the time to do so.
yes,
Just so
please.
I can make sure you guys are in a good spot.
Yep.
But just wanted to do that quick pulse check.
Thank you,
Thank
Stormy.
Thanks.
so much, Francisco. Please, if there are any additional follow-up items, please be sure to let me know. You and I can sync after this. But it was good seeing you guys. We do have a space on Tuesday, but I will follow up with you guys on an email just after this meeting wraps up to see how we want to move forward. Okay?
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you.
Here, guys.
Great. Thank you guys. But yeah, no, so honestly, I think we're oh gosh. I started talking actually. Matt, you were in the middle of talking.
No,
I
I was just
interrupted you.
trying to
Apologies.
think about it. Could we have multiple business units on one invoice, on one job? Is that like how does that work? Like,
Yes and no, right? So yes, it's physically possible to assign invoice items to their own BU, their own respective BU. So I don't know if you guys have that feature on. That feature only works well when you're reporting off of business units, because now you can say, hey, this I had one job that was under plumbing service, but I can have this $200 original item that is contributing to plumbing service, and then I can have a $500 item contributing to electrical service. When you look at that report that I produced or showed for revenue, where it's basing off of business units, it works there. It doesn't work anywhere else. Job reporting, it will not pick it up correctly. And then that does not carry over to your accounting software either.
okay,
So again, I'm telling you, yes, we do technically have it because you're asking, but it does shows for that one job or
okay,
the BU contribution. So with that,
okay.
honestly, what I would recommend is if we were coming into a position, if this wants to open up, you see how this one has a business unit. We do have an option that would allow you to edit the business unit of where this invoice item is going to be contributed to. But
So the
again,
general ledger is what I see. Since we only have one business unit, I guess I don't even really know what that looks like in QuickBooks because we only have one business unit.
ah, yeah, so your visual is definitely a bit would be different in a sense if we were to explain it.
Yeah, I'm
So
guessing I would have multiple P&Ls then because they would be separated by class.
That was one of the things they mentioned in those trainings is that the business unit that each one can have will have its own P&L, and that's what you're really looking at the profitability of each business unit. Like it gives you that insight. Is that correct, Francisco?
oh gosh, can you say it one more time for me?
Do the business units do they each have their own P&L? Is our question.
Yes, to a point. Yes. Um,
But job
I say
types
to a
do
point.
not, right? I can't see job type
Correct.
profitability.
Correct. Yeah. So business units by default, without adjusting anything, is how you would see those P&Ls in a sense. You can see your overall, but if you wanted without any type of adjustments yet, if you just wanted to break those down, yeah, each business unit would technically have their own P&L.
So then
In
it becomes
QuickBooks,
In QuickBooks, yes.
so that becomes a high
Because
level question for you, Marissa, is do we want to go down this path yet where plumbing, water treatment, testing and inspections, and DEP would independently have their own profit and loss?
And sales.
Well,
I
no, I don't think you have to include sales yet. I think 'cause sales could just, you could have them as job types under those, like sales could be its own
sales doesn't
division.
make any money
Yeah.
technically. Technically, like they do, but they don't.
But it would
Um,
also it would be interesting to see again. I think there's probably a case to be made for it, but I think for our standpoint, maybe we pull that out of there and it's just a job type, and we don't look at it that way, and it's more like that's almost an overhead cost.
So for our company and the way things are currently, this would take a lot of adjustments because this would mean that I need all cost of goods sold expenses to actually be accurate. And I actually need like people need to understand those things, give me POs, that are accurate. Right
Mhm.
now, it's equipment or material. Nobody even uses service, which is for plumbing. Um, Nobody uses it. So it would not work unless all of that happens at the same time together. Because or else it sounds like I'll just have like a P&L for testing and inspections, and then if POs aren't done correctly, the cost of goods sold is going to show up over here under water treatment because nobody's following those guidelines. So unless it's all done at the same time cohesively, that's how it'll work. But if it's not done, it can't be like, oh, this week we're going to do this. I mean, it'll be a mess in the books. I would advise against that
So
at
it
this
would be,
point.
I think it would be a mess in the sense that it wouldn't be accurate, but on the grand scheme, when you added them all up, we'd still reach the same total. So because I've thought through this long and hard. Like, there's like, how do you, which is coming first, the chicken or the egg here, right? So the idea of trying to train the process without it being structured in Service Titan this way seems like that will never ever get done. Whereas if we put it this way, then we can at least start the arduous process of looking back and saying, hey, look, you just put a PO in here and it doesn't have anything on it, and I don't know where it belongs. This needs to know, is this a plumbing thing? Is this a water treatment thing? Is this DEP? But then at some point, it lets us look at this and say, is DEP really profitable? Should we still be doing plumbing? My question, since we're on this, is can technicians be assigned to multiple business units?
No, one
Oh.
business unit.
That's not gonna work.
We can do business unit grouping. In what sense are you asking? In the sense of visual or like
I'm saying if I have
booking?
as far as how when it shows labor, if we were trying to do job costing, that sort of thing, like if I have a technician and he is a water treatment installer, but tomorrow he goes out and does a water heater, which business unit does he belong to?
Mm. So where the cost gets accumulated to, or in that sense, is going to be the business unit of the job he is working. It's not going to be so much a business unit that
So
he's
okay, so
assigned to.
that would work, and that was the other part. Is it sort of lets me see then, Marissa, again, I'm thinking into the future. It lets you job cost and be able to see here's how much we spent on
Yeah,
plumbing
no, I
labor
like that.
versus
Yeah.
water treatment labor versus water treatment.
I like that. I'm concerned with how this affects the price book because when when invoices don't sync over to QuickBooks, that screws everything up. So if we are changing all these business units, how does that, and we ultimately will then need to change general ledger accounts because I'm going to have to change my chart of accounts in QuickBooks. Chart of accounts in QuickBooks is general ledger and Service Titan. I would need to change those things in QuickBooks so that it makes sense to what you're doing in Service Titan. How do we go about doing that without getting syncing errors? And do business units, are they a factor in this?
I don't. If you alter your business units, again, forgive me. You are the accounting pro here, so I try to chime in where I can, but by no means am I an accounting specialist. Uh, but I think if we change the business units, I don't think you would have to change the mapping of your GL accounts because those expenses, those buckets are still going to continue to be the same. It's just how we're putting them in a bucket together, and that's going to be the BU side. So those transaction approach for you are still very insightful, but I don't think you have to change them. But it's as depending on your reporting, of course. If you're reporting off of the uh, umbrella of the BU itself, everything could still get cross-referenced to you're in this GL account, this expense, in this liability, and so forth. But those are gonna be individual items and individual transactions. But you're still gonna be able to get all those individuals into their corresponding bucket, which is gonna be the BU. You shouldn't
So
have to change the chart of accounts.
it sounds like I would just have whatever my general ledger is now, I would just have the same general ledger for all the different business units.
Yes, and then you would
Okay.
separate them by business unit to know, was it good, was it bad.
Yeah, I don't know that that would make sense. Because, well, if we stick with the three, it's supposed to be equipment, material, and service. Those are supposed to be the three categories that I see. I'm confused now because none of like what Service Titan uses, like it doesn't.
Well, services is a combination of equipment and materials.
No, service was supposed to be plumbing. Nobody knows about service. Nobody uses service. So it like
Yeah, you're confusing John. Services in the price book is supposed
Oh,
to
okay.
be that, but Marissa's talking about an accounting ledger.
yeah, I can't see this.
He's
I'm trying
pulling
to
it up now, it
think.
looks like.
No, but I mean like in QuickBooks because right now income is categorized into all these different categories and it gets there not because of the business unit, it gets there because of the price book items. So if we have I'm trying to think if I have like 4 different P&Ls I'm looking at, then one of them would be, then I wouldn't even need, I'm so confused because then I wouldn't even need the general ledger accounts if like they do nothing for me then. If we're going to separate all this into business units, then what do I need general ledger accounts for? I still need them though to get them into QuickBooks, but then what would I make them?
But that's gonna contribute to your P&L to know what's P and what's L in a sense. Forgive me for my easy of verbiage there. But it's you still need that that routing to know what is actual income, what is revenue, where did we make money, what's an expense, what is money we're eventually going into liabilities. The definitions of those, but in a sense, like that's still going to help you know what's again in a sense what's P and what's L. But the business unit is going to help you not look at it in a chart of accounts way where you're looking at the whole company. You're going to be able to isolate in a sense again, forgive me for my verbiage crossing here, but like in the sense of a division, or your class in a sense is going to be your BU. You're going to be able to say, I want to know specifically plumbing service. How did they do in their total income? What money did we lose? What is money that we're paying subcontractors or whatever the case is? Those GL accounts are still going to help you in that routing in the sense of is it P or is it L? And then you're able to create that umbrella via the business unit to put this all in one bucket together. So GLs are still going to be very crucial and important for you to know what's revenue, what's loss. The
Well, we don't
business unit,
use, yeah, I mean, we don't use Service Titan for expenses at this point. It's only used for revenue.
okay.
Um, so that's where I'm thinking then like, would we only need one general ledger account?
And I
If,
guess it would also impact. I would definitely stay away from one income account. Um,
but if we're having different business units and
But
each
you'd
business
have
unit,
more general ledger accounts. You'd have an account for the plumbing business unit, an account for the water treatment business unit. Like each of those would have their own general ledger accounts. Is that how I'm understanding it? With the
no, they
expenses?
shouldn't. Though
No.
you would still be able to see them all together and keep it as one, but instead of creating 5 different GL accounts, you're creating 5 business units to give you those individual buckets. Sorry, it might be my verbiage at times. Again, I
I
have
was
a
gonna
No.
try to
disconnect.
share
So,
my screen so
oh
I
yeah,
can like explain. I'm just trying to get this P&L to load. Um, because I am so confused now. So let me see if I can do this. Oh, I'm so not used to Zoom. Oh, there's the share button.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like the terribly obvious one that you can never see.
Yeah.
Right in the
Yeah.
middle.
And
Okay.
green.
I always
Yeah,
miss
I
it.
know it was right in the middle in green. Okay, so right now this is coming over this 4100. This is coming over from invoices, which is not coming over by job type, it's not coming over by business unit, it's coming over by the whatever is on the invoice, the price book items. So are these. So these are all coming over because of price book items. So what I'm saying is if this is only one business unit, so I would basically have this for water treatment, then I would have the same thing for plumbing, is what you're telling me. That's why I'm saying I don't know that I would need all these different income accounts, because then the income accounts would be
You
business
would
units.
just
That's
have income and expenses, and then maybe whatever the,
so
you
then
know,
so exactly, then I wouldn't need all these different general ledger accounts. So then what would my general ledger account be for all these price book items if they're already going to be separated by business unit?
Yeah, so they would stay the same because the breaking down of the business unit is if you look at the equipment one for 154,
Yeah.
right now when you look at your overall P&L, you know that's everything that's accumulated from your equipment. But if you wanted to know again, of this 154, what went into service, what went into sales, what went into install, that's where the business units would help you separate that. So I guess let me take a moment to actually kind of rephrase some of the wordings I was saying, because profit and loss in QuickBooks, you should have one overall profit and loss report that you're currently looking at.
Yes.
The report that ideally, if I remember correctly, it's going to be in a transactions report, which will still give you your profit and loss in a sense, but it's not going to be the profit and loss report. It's going to be a altered report to kind of give you the visuals of your P&L for the individual business unit. So again, right now the way we're looking at it is that equipment will remain the same. This is your company overview to know how much equipment's GL brought in, how much materials brought in. But if you wanted to know what the individual division or in the individual business unit, again, service, not service GL, but like service to a customer, counter sales to a customer, install to a customer. If you wanted to know individually how those individual classes performed, then that's where the business units are going to come in, and you'll pull a report based off of the business unit. And then this P&L will stay the same because that's your overall company performance. So again, we're changing the reporting of that you would be pulling in a sense. And then you'd be again, same thing, equipment is just of this 154, you're gonna be able to know who brought this in, who brought in the most, who brought in the less, who costs us the most as well.
Matt, I think you should just do what you think would be best,
well, it
and
sounds like it's not going
we'll
to
just,
impact you necessarily. Like if that's the case, then and I'm understanding this right. That sounds like you'll still be able to have this report, but there will be another report that we can run that will show a broken down version of, and again, we would have to look at, so there would be equipment for plumbing, there would be equipment for water treatment. Those two would be two separate things, but in this report, they would just show up together as equipment.
Correct.
okay.
And then
If
with
that,
fees,
okay.
yeah.
Then, yeah, if that's the case, that's not a huge deal. I guess I need to figure out what it looks like in QuickBooks to have classes in a report. Um,
I believe if I can't remember my routing right, but it's under reports, I believe it's a transactions by class, I think, report that you would get, and it's not. I can't remember if it presents the same as a P&L, like as far as that breakdown, or if it gives you
okay.
total numbers at the very bottom of where every transaction is listed.
Oh,
And I don't.
profit and loss by class.
I think transact or if there's a profit
It's
and loss by
called,
class.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
okay,
perfect.
so that's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
because again, in service
yeah, let me
titling,
just,
you
I'll
would create the
share that.
class there. So again, you would have plumbing service, uh, plumbing service, install, sales, right? And those will be your business units. But Marissa, when you go ahead and pull that P&L by class, um,
Yeah,
you would be able to
that's,
pull it by plumbing. So it's going to include
so
all
then it
three
would,
business units.
okay. So maybe if you want to do those business units, we start with just the business units and start seeing what it looks like as far as the income goes before we jump to let's get into the price book
Yeah.
and really make the price book better, because that's really cool that I can see like across the board all of that, all because this is an actual I didn't even know this was a thing. You could do a P&L by all these different classes all in one shot. That's really nice.
Yeah. So if we created, like your water treatment, 3 business
Yeah.
units, plumbing, 3 business units, we just create a class for plumbing, a class for water treatment, and then that's how you pull the report. So even if we have 6 or 7 business units, Marissa, you'll still be able to classify them and pull it on the overall class. And then furthermore, again, there's some other report. Again, I'm not good with names of reports, but I know there's another report that if you wanted to look at, okay, I see that plumbing made 67,000. I want to know how much of that came from plumbing service. Then there's an additional report somewhere in QuickBooks that you'd be able to pull that not by the whole class, by the business unit itself.
Okay.
So then again, that's the benefit of separating these is that you're going to be able to get your details to know who
That would
you're
only be true if we had plumbing service as a business unit, though, right? I want to back up what
Yeah,
you
we would
said.
need to have, yeah,
Like we'd have more business units than we were hoping to have, if I'm
yes.
understanding this correctly. We'd have, let's assume we have 5 major general categories. Each one has 3. You're talking 15 business units. Is that a potential way this ends?
if it needs to be that much.
I don't. I liked your thing. As simple as better because I like that, but I do love the idea that because we kind of look at this kind of carefully is how does water treatment service do versus water treatment installations, and we look at it right now exclusively as revenue, and that's kind of how we're comparing these. But this would let me get more granular and look at these versus actual profitability. Like, yeah, the revenue may look great, but we're hemorrhaging money because look at all the labor that's going into that. And that's kind of what I was hoping to unearth with all of this is kind of see if we could see that.
Well,
Yeah.
the labor part is something I have to change too then, because I don't classify labor as a cost of goods sold, which is a big no. I know. I just have not, no, I've never been taught how to do that. So I think I know how to do it. I just have to change that. So when we're ready to do this, I have to create another account under the cost of goods sold here that's for labor because
Yep.
you should be seeing labor here, and you don't.
And
That's
I
where
think
it needs to go.
that will help us, I think, tremendously in being able to look at actual profitability on jobs and in all industry standards. Like that's a good place to
Yeah,
get that. I know we're not there yet, but it really does help us look at COGS as a percentage when it
right.
includes, and it helps us price on margin more competitively. It will help us fix our pricing on water heaters. Part of our reason that we can't price those is we price it just on material costs, not on material and labor costs combined. So I think it helps us from that standpoint.
It would, but you're still thinking like 15 business units. So I would have like 15 of these categories when I'm looking at this, or could we start smaller?
No, I think you would have the same number of categories. You would be able to run 15 of the by class reports.
Well, this is the profit and loss by class. So right now we
But
only have
instead
one.
of testing and inspections, we wouldn't have that, right? Because that would be its own class. You wouldn't need that line in there.
No, that's what I was saying. If we don't need this anymore, then we have to change the price book. Because this is coming up from the price book. This is not coming up from anything else.
Yeah, this is
That's
GL
what,
contribution. That's not a
um,
BU mapping. That's not a job type
yeah.
mapping. That's a GL mapping.
This right here, everything in this column, this is coming from this business unit. This is a business unit. So if we have 15 business units, I would have one here, 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 and it would keep going down. And then I would have numbers under testing, inspections, equipment, material, service, which I could just go like this and not look at.
Then
If we
I'm
want to
thinking we
start
only
with the
need,
business unit.
then we don't need 15. We just go smaller. Then we have plumbing, water treatment, DEP, and testing and, well, your testing
Yeah, and
inspections
then
is,
this should be 0 under water treatment, plumbing, and it would show a number under testing and inspections. So then we wouldn't have to go in and change the price book right away. We could just let it go and just have the business units. Basically these should be business units. I mean, not equipment, material, service, but testing and inspections, installs, service, DEP. Those should be the business units. right? Can we start there
Yeah, I think
before
I,
we drill down further and do,
yeah, I think let's see if Stormy can keep that meeting on Tuesday. Let's see if we can get Zach in it. Because I'm sure he's gonna have want to weigh in on this. Let's get another voice in here and see before we make any of those changes. But if I know she has that meeting that we had held that spot for, so if we can keep that, I think this is a good place to start. We have a better understanding of it now, and we can let him weigh in and see what his thoughts are too.
I will not be able to make that meeting now. But you guys can because I
Yeah,
know I get it now. So I think you guys were fine. You can call me. I'll be driving back to my office at 2 o'clock. But yeah, I think you guys are good to do that one without me. But if you need
okay.
me, let me know because this makes more sense now. Now I can like wrap my head around it more. But I do think having the different starting with the DEP business unit, water treatment service, water treatment install, testing and inspections. That makes more sense. And it makes sense on a P&L too. And then if we want to go further and want to say, well, we want, now we want plumbing service, now we want plumbing install, now we want this, maybe we just start with our like what we kind of consider divisions first. If that makes sense. Will that still give you what you were looking for too?
John, does it? I think
For,
it solves some of what we're looking for
yeah,
on the
I
marketing side.
I think if we have water treatment business unit, we would be able to have job types of service, install. We could even have maintenance. And those will all still show up under the business unit and all the stuff that you're tracking for that there. And then we could have the plumbing business unit and then have job types for service, install, maintenance, whatever there. And that would be all attributed to the plumbing side of it. I don't
It
know
just
that
sounds
we
like you get less reporting robustness if you don't have all those broken out into business units, is what it sounds like.
Yeah,
well, I
because it
think
lets you, for instance, like if I order, let's say I order a whole bunch of equipment and a whole bunch of bulbs and parts, and if I could attribute those things to the water treatment installation business unit, and then two separate ways. Otherwise, now it's all going to get categorized together. So I'm going to have less granular reporting.
but if you have a report that and you have like where it's like grouping all the business units as the first thing, and then the second thing is by job type, then you'll be able to see, oh, here's all the water treatment, and then you'll see your granular data of, oh, your service calls ended up using this much in materials. I would believe that that would be the case
I don't think you'll see that in a job type report. I think you'd only see that in business unit.
in a business unit, but are you able to have an added column for job type?
No, it's just going to report on the whole business unit there.
Oh, okay.
So, but what you're getting at, it to a point is possible within service title, and again, you're going to lose those. But if we looked at this from an accounting perspective, from Marissa's side on QuickBooks, you don't have these insights. Those insights would only exist within service title, and even then, we're trying to get very particular because we're looking at every single job to get a total number, rather than the business unit report that just gives you your total number altogether without the individual, unless you want to go look for the individual.
Which kind of makes me think again, it's really, Marissa, up to you how much you want to be, how much you want the accounting to be broken down that way. Because it sounds like ultimately within Service Titan, we'll be able to get more detailed if we choose to, um, but just not on the accounting point. So from an accounting standpoint, just being able to have maybe those five categories that are currently job types be business units is enough to kind
Yeah,
of.
I think that would be really cool.
Now, I will call out additional call out here is when you look at it within service typing, you're seeing the good side of it all, right? You're seeing the revenue side and all that.
Yeah.
But if you guys are doing accounts payables, labor, and all
Yeah.
that in your accounting software, then separating by business units is going to be more beneficial because now you're going to have a true profit margin on those individual BUs, opposed to where you're only seeing it in service title, you're only seeing the good number. You know, being able to do
But
that
now
extra
that you brought
BU.
that up, how would I
Yeah.
contribute labor to the different business units. I couldn't because it's so say John goes out and he does a plumbing job for the plumbing business unit, and then he also does the water treatment business unit. He's still getting paid his wage. I can't break that down and contribute, hey,
Not yet because we're not tracking it in there, but we haven't sprung this surprise on you. But there is like, so my real dream is that one day, yes, we will use this for tracking in that way, and that's like that. This is, I know this is something Jeff has pushed for. This is what they were doing at IT Land. It's like you
payroll.
can look at everything, yeah, from payroll to, and actually be able to look at the hours spent in each one of those based on where those jobs were assigned as far as business units. So I think
Okay.
from that standpoint, then yes, we could see that. And
But for
eventually, yeah,
now,
we would,
we won't be able to.
yeah, but people, there with this, we set through a whole thing about using it for payroll, clocking in and out, using the time clock inside there and all of those features
Yeah, but
too.
they are not, ServiceTitan is not an HR software.
So,
So it is not going to give you all the things that we have. But I get that. I mean, that's
yeah,
a huge, that's a benefit. Okay, so as long as we understand that we're not going to be able to see that right now, fine. Let me ease into this before you throw payroll on
I
me.
told you
There.
it was not, it was just a
Yeah, sorry, I
curveball,
jumped the
but
gun there too.
no, no, it's good.
But at least account
But
payables, at least we can at least say that part. The account
yeah.
payable side, we'll be able to see at least how it's contributing to your total profitability. If you're manually recording those, purchase orders, vendor bills, and so forth in your accounting software, then we can at least get that contribution going into the BUs until
Right.
payroll down the line starts kicking in. Because again,
Yeah.
right now, service titan, if you try to pull from service titan, it's going to give you, expected labor, pay, and burdens. If you guys have that set up within service titan, I haven't looked, but it's going to give you that general approach. But now you're
Okay.
missing accounts payables within service titan.
Right.
But when you go to your QuickBooks, now you're missing
So
labor.
we will
content.
need everybody to get their POs on track. Like we're gonna have to change POs for this then.
Yep.
But it's not gonna be a huge, I don't think it's gonna be a huge shift.
Just making sure that you're following the PO code exactly, and that we know what it looks like, and we're staying on time. They've gotten better. We've already made progress. I feel confident that we can continue down that road. But yeah, we're gonna need to
Yeah.
be
I'll
the
just need to know what business unit then for each PO. That's all.
correct, and that's where we're gonna have to be a little bit more careful about when we order material. Is this going to water treatment or is this going to plumbing? And
Yeah.
we have to divide that up a little bit. But I don't think that's as big of a hurdle as we once thought it was. So
No, I don't think so either.
I will say that's always a thing. Data integrity, as we just like to call it, is people attributing things to the right items. As much as I want to say that's easy to get over, we're human. Human errors
I
happen.
know. I know.
People probably
Yeah.
don't get enough sleep the night before, and boom, they add it to the wrong one. So
Yeah.
it's always just practicing with the team, letting them know that this is kind of what contributes to how profitable, commitment to the company. Sorry, I might sound cliche on here, but just as I talk to other clients, this is a usual conversation, is having them buy into the overall performance of the company as to why we got to be data integrity through and through. Because when we talk about raises, promotions, blah blah blah, if we're not doing things right and we can't tell the company's profitable, then we can't go talk to the next person about, hey, do you want to pay a raise this time around? So that's
Correct.
a lot of the incentive a lot of my clients do is like, hey, if we want to know how the company's performing so we can incentivize you guys in return, we need you to be in a point religious to the data you're inputting and how you're routing it and so forth. That's usually how some of my clients get people their front office techs to buy in. It's like, hey, commit to the overall company visual here, not just how you're performing this one-off transaction on this specific day.
Yeah.
But that's just my additional insight. Don't know if that helps, but it's fun.
tremendously, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I think we're in a position. Again, you guys can make the ultimate decision, but I think we're in a position of maybe breaking down some of these BUs and to be able to get a bit more insights to what's going on. Again, not jumping the gun, not trying to jump the gun here, but if you guys talking about payroll and mapping that eventually, it'll be great to have this structure already in place. So when that time comes around, it's not another restructure of how we're simply booking jobs when somebody calls in. That part can already be established. Now is just you guys working the back end of the payroll side. So this gives us an opportunity to kind of chip away. It's one, implement these, know how we want to run them, how we're going to report on them. then communicate to the front office, let them know, hey, this is how I want you to separate it. When a customer says this, or when you notice this opportunity, this is the BU I want you to map this to. Get that data integrity first. When is your guys' next? What's your fiscal year? Do you guys align with the calendar year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would think that would be my challenge. You know, if I was in your guys' shoes, I would take this approach. I would be aiming by 2026, January 1st, that this outline is in play. You know, so we can kind of use like that. You guys know from an accounting perspective, when you guys look back at 2025, you guys can know from January 1st to September 1st, just throwing a date out there, it doesn't have to be September 1st. But you guys can know we followed this logic of everything going to Gilbertville. You know, everything is in Gilbertville from September to December 31st of 2025. We know that, hey, some numbers not might be accurate in the full bucket because we're trying to get used to this workflow, but your P&L is still going to be right. Your P&L, regardless of what BU you map it to, is still going to give you your overall number. Then from January 1st, if everyone's on board and we've implemented this process, then you can start that freshly going into fiscal year 26, and knowing that from January 1st of 26 to December 31st of 26, everyone was on board and everything should have been mapped correctly. So we can rely a bit more on the individual report, all to say, rather than still saying, well, it looks like something's been off. Let's just go to the P&L. No, January 1st can be the true commitment to say this workflow is implemented and we run reports this way moving forward. That would be my personal recommendation altogether.
That sounds like a good way to approach it, and set a goal like that. So I love it.
No. Sweet. Thank y'all for having me. But any other questions, concerns, comments I can tackle while you have me?
No, I think that's it. We'll wait to hear from Stormy. We'll again just sort of let everyone take some time to think through this. Make sure this is the ones we want. We'll get Zach just to weigh in, and then I think maybe Tuesday we start making some of these shifts, and we'll see how it goes. And then we can introduce it to the team, talk to them, do some training on it, and sort of, again, I like the idea of, hey, no, you're not going to hurt anything. We're trying to get in this direction. This is just a coaching window where we're going to be practicing getting this right. And we're targeting January 1st that we'll have this figured out. So go ahead out there and let's figure out some mistakes. Let's not be afraid of it, because it's not, my biggest concern when we had done this originally, and why I looped Marissa in on it, is I didn't want to do anything that was going to impact accounting and how things are tracking over and that sort of thing. So
I do have, one more question. If we do create these other business units, do I have to create that business unit in QuickBooks first, or will it automatically create itself?
You would have to create them. Yes.
Okay, so I would have to create these business units in QuickBooks in order for the invoices to sync over properly.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So I would recommend that you create those first, and then we create them in service side and two, and then we do that linking of the business units. I think you've been through it before. If not, we could definitely walk it through again. It's
Yeah, I
not a
don't
problem,
remember.
but it's just because once you connect it, service side is gonna go throw out exactly the verb of the name of the business unit, send it to QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks is gonna give it the green light, like, hey, you matched me exactly. And if you didn't match me exactly, then I'm just gonna get a red light in return.
Yeah.
QBO doesn't really like to give details as to why something failed. It just says yay or nay. So
Okay.
that's why I would recommend you build it first, exactly the name,
Okay.
copy and paste that name into service title, and then let it flow from there. But when you
Okay.
guys do create these business units, please be sure to let Stormy know on that. There are some adjustments that we would have to do, like your payment processor in a sense, the QuickBooks Online connector,
Oh, that's right.
things like that that we might want to consider. Estimate online, if you guys do online estimates, things like that that are controlled by the BU on how they're presented. So just keep us in the loop there. Again, by all means, I support it. Just be mindful when you guys do, so you guys don't come to us telling us like, hey, this technician can't run this payment. Yeah, because we didn't connect it to the processor. So
Okay. So there's a lot connected to the business units beyond, I think, the surface that we're talking about.
yes, and
Okay.
I've been through this quite a few times. So if Stormy knows it, sweet. If not, I'm more than happy to talk on it.
Okay.
I've had a lot of clients that go through this reshift of
Okay.
business units and so forth. So, and that's why I talk about it the way I do. That's usually the end result that most people get.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, keep me in the loop. Tuesday I will be traveling to Atlanta, so I don't think I'm going to be able to join you guys on that meeting, but I'll let Stormy know of what we conversate today. I'll follow up with her on what updates, what conversations you guys have on Tuesday, and then any way that I can help, I'm more than happy to chime in. But yeah,
Really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
thank you, team. You have a great day.
You
You
too.
too.